JLX is my artist signature, but you can call me Jenny Links. And that wasn't clickbait. This is a tabletop role-playing game miniature of a musician commonly referred to as a bard by those participating. Today, I'll be repainting it to match this beautiful drawing by my wonderfully creative and inspiring sister. I start the process by whipping up a couple of color washes and a watery gesso to use as a base coat. I mixed up a range of color washes to use back and forth as I go, but prep the figure while I mix these, as the watery gesso layers will need a chance to dry before I can properly start painting. An essential step a lot of people skip here is mixing way more than needed for the project, but as a true professional, I ensure that I make more than enough for each color wash, as well as the watery gesso base. Layering watery gesso instead of using straight gesso from the bottle keeps my base coat thin enough to preserve the sculpting of the figure, which is pretty good. Usually the smaller a project, the less detail you can get in, but this one's pretty nice. It's got some textures and didn't have any casting seam lines that needed removing, so it made the repaint request super easy to execute. The hardest part was the size. I mean, geez, this thing is tiny. I'm only repainting the person, not the base, so instead of feeling like I'm painting something bigger than a fingernail, the entire time I felt like I was painting with a giant paintbrush, when in reality I was painting with one of the smallest paintbrushes I own. I'd have gone smaller, but my smaller brushes are either well-loved and don't hold the original bristle shape anymore, or are so small they're not very compatible with acrylic paint. Acrylic paint dries so quickly, especially in small applications like this, that even with the size brush I was using, I struggled to keep the paint wet on the brush long enough to get it on the figure. Nonetheless, with patience, experience, and a couple of movies, I was able to block in the colors. Confession time. Shading on this scale just isn't in my wheelhouse of paint, so I get as close to the values I want where in paint before I decide whether or not I'd use chalk pastels to get the gradients and soft shadows. Spoiler, the pastels are practically invisible in real life if you don't know what it looked like with or without them prior, and are totally invisible on camera. I include the footage of applying it, but more so you guys can see the process than it actually showing up, which is just too bad because she came out really nice. Although I was watching cheesy movies while I painted this, they were all movies I've seen before, so I was only half paying attention. The rest of my ADHD brain was thinking about the character I was painting, Tanelia, Leah for short. She isn't just my sister's TTRPG character, she's also my character's good friend. This is our first time playing a tabletop RPG, and we decided to do it together for courage and each other. Initially, I wasn't going to join at all, but when a sister asks you to do something with them, you gotta consider it seriously. And to be honest, I was gonna say no, that I wouldn't play with her because I really didn't know anything about tabletop RPGs, or how to play, or make a character, or what dice to use when, or why there are so many, but my sister has the patience only a sibling of someone with ADHD can have. She took my concerns and insecurities with her own and did a ton of research. A lot of it was before she even asked me, but she still went out of her way to address them each individually and carefully. Seeing her dedication and hearing her passion for this tabletop RPG, I couldn't help but develop a bit of a desire to play too, so we agreed to do this together. And I'm glad I'm doing this with her. I don't think I'd have the courage on my own. And making the characters was a lot of fun, actually. I absolutely adore Leah, and when Sis drew and colored this sketch, giving me a face with the name, I was super excited to play. I know Leah pretty well, being a part of writing her, but the love my sister put in is on another level. I could only hope that I did her miniature justice. At least I know I nailed the paint job of the figure. I had a good time on this project, and I hope you enjoyed the process of bringing about reality for a pastime to forget reality. Leave a like for Leah here on your way out, and thank you so much for watching.